Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Livfiit Listens podcast, episode 90, literally 10 episodes away, 10 weeks away from having 100 episodes of the Livfiit Listens podcast. That's insane. I feel like we have to do something special for the 100th episode. That's crazy. I hope everyone had a really lovely Thanksgiving, whether it was just by yourself, enjoying some peaceful times, or maybe it was with loved ones, families, friends. I hope there was some good food there involved at least. I spent mine at my mom's with my siblings and my boyfriend and my brother's girlfriend, and it was really nice. It was just nice to all still be together, and we played some games. And I know the holidays can be really a toss-up depending on kind of what your home situation is, and so I know it can be very challenging for some people and like the best time of year for other people. And I've been totally on both sides, where I've spent holidays completely away from family, or times where there was so much chaos and fighting in my family where holidays were just basically a bomb waiting to go off and like just really explosive. So I understand that side, but I also understand how great holidays can be. I feel like my family personally has come a really, really long way. And without making this a long-winded thing, I just want to give a nod of acknowledgement to those that are struggling during this time. I am deeply sorry. I wish that everyone just was able to come from a healthy, happy family. I think that should be a birthright. But from my experience, it has gotten better for my family. And I know that's not the case for everyone. I know that's very blessed to say, but I was definitely in a position where I never thought it was going to get better for my family. And it did. And a lot of us have grown and we've figured out a healthier new dynamic that has gone a really long way, that has allowed us to still enjoy family time. And the holidays aren't what they used to be by any means. They don't have that same spark as a kid. There still definitely is a lot of scars that we all have from past years and past family trauma, but it's still nice to be able to set those things aside and not have super reactive times during the holidays. So just know that I hope that it can get better. It can get better for you. It really did for my family, and I'm so blessed to say that. So keep your head up. Just because a current situation is what it is now does not mean that it can't get better in the future, even if you feel like it is the longest shot in the world. So for my gratitude for today, this is also so fitting because the time of year is Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for the lessons that my relationship has been teaching me with my boyfriend. I feel like this is very specific, but it was very clear when I was outlining this episode. I feel like I could do a whole other episode on this because I feel like I've been such a season of learning with him. I feel like it's one thing to be super zen, super centered and grounded when you are by yourself. Like I feel like I had that self-mastery when I'm alone. And I feel like throughout this past year, I've been almost kind of relearning how to keep that self-mastery surrounded by others, if that makes sense. Like I spent so much time alone previously. And I just feel like when you have a partner, like it's inevitable that they reflect so much back to you, like especially when you're around someone 24/7 and they see all different parts of you. Like, I don't know, it's just different is all. And I feel like it's been allowing me to deepen even further into self-mastery and like gaining more self-awareness of how I react. I feel like I learned how I react when I'm alone in situations, but learning how I react around others is kind of like a different thing. And so I feel like I've been working through different lessons with him, and I feel like I've been growing and learning a lot, which has been really good. And I'm very thankful for that because I feel like it's just helping me evolve as a human. So getting into, whoa, sorry if you heard that. My rings just like slammed on the table. Getting into today's podcast episode, this came through during meditation, go figure. And I just want to say, like, I have also been realizing Like the past few months have really proven to me how much I really do need meditation. And I'm always someone that's like, I don't like to be dependent on anything, but I've really realized like when I'm consistent with meditation, my whole entire life is better in so many different aspects. And I'm so much more of a patient, more aware and intentional human when I take even just 10 minutes in the morning to sit in stillness and like realign with like what truly matters. It is insane. Like my mental health is so much better when I meditate, and I know that's why I preach about it so much, but like it really is because it helps me so much, and I don't see myself like, because the past few months I haven't been as consistent as I have been in the past, and it's been like really clear like, okay, well, like this practice really serves me a lot to keep in my life. So I was actually meditating this morning, and there comes to a point where I'm like, basically, it takes a second to get deeper into your meditation. And so I was doing my breath work, and I was just kind of trying to focus myself and like bring myself into the present moment. I feel like it takes a minute to like kind of have the noise, dim away. And that moment when the noise finally fell away, like all the thoughts that might have been racing in my mind, all the things I've been anxious about, all the things I've been questioning, all the things I've been deciding between, all the things I've been wondering and curious about, and the answers I've been trying to seek, when those like all that noise in my brain finally dissipated and like quieted, I like felt such like this relief, like this sigh of relief. My shoulders relaxed, and I just had this sense of like remembering, and it hit me so hard where I was like, this is who you are. Like this is the real you, your essence, just your soul, your ball of consciousness. Like that is you, right? However you want to identify that, like your purest essence was me right there in that moment when all those things that I was thinking about had melted away, and I just was still, and I was one, and I just was pure being. I was like, that is the true you. And I feel like lately, there's definitely been a lot of themes with my podcast episodes lately, like with what I've been called to speak about. And lately I feel like I've been dealing with so many doubts. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I feel like I've been dealing with so many doubts and so much questioning. Kind of like I said, I felt like I really have been lacking clarity in different areas of my life. And I feel like also it's been a while where I just was constantly like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And so I almost just wasn't fully acknowledging it to the extent that I could have. And within the past couple of weeks, I like fully acknowledged how I was feeling and like accepted that. And I was like, okay, this is where I am. Feel that, be that. And like, how can we now move forward from this place where I'm not like super stoked to be in? And so all that like noise that I've been, all that self-doubt, all that negative self-talk, all the worries, all just negative talk, whether it's about me, other people, etc. Like I just realized like none of that is actually me. Any negativity, any doubts, any fears, that's not the real me. That is just simply my ego. And I think we lose sight of that. And I think that's when a lot of us tend to get confused. There's a lot of facets that come with life to begin with. And I feel like when we start to give too much power, too much intention, and too much energy into negativity, into doubts, into fears, into worries, it just only makes things worse, and it confuses us even more. And I just feel like a really good note that provided me so much clarity, and that's why I'm pushing it to you guys now in this podcast episode, because I hope it gives you guys clarity. Like, just know anytime you have negative thoughts pop up of like, but this isn't going to work, or but I look stupid, or, people are going to judge me, or when you have any doubts, right, of like, there's no way I'm capable of doing that, or this is just going to fail, or if you have any fears of like, what if I really get into a deep hole if I try this new venture, what if this trip that I really want to go on just crashes and burns and like goes terribly, like all those things that sometimes seem so real when you don't take the time to sit in stillness. Like, just know all of that is your ego talking, which we also have to understand, like the ego it's not like it doesn't have a purpose. The purpose of the ego is to keep us safe, right? It's to keep things familiar for us, right? And so that's why it throws these, negative thoughts, these doubts, these fears at us, but just know they're not the truth. It's simply your ego. It's kind of your lower self, just trying to keep you safe and keep you in this bubble and keep you in the known that you've always known, right? The ego doesn't really like newness. It doesn't like expansion, right? But your higher self does. And so that's kind of where I'm getting at here to bring this full circle. It's like your higher self your true consciousness is never going to be feeding you negativity. It's never going to be feeding you doubts. It's never going to be feeding you just these irrational fears, these intrusive thoughts, right? There's a very big difference between fear and ego and your intuition, right? And so that's not to say don't listen to your gut if things just feel off, but things that are just kind of these irrational what ifs, right? Or you're just have these initial like right away, these just negative thoughts towards people, towards situations, towards yourself. Like, no, that is not you. Your higher self would never talk to about yourself like that. It would never talk about others like that. It would never have that attitude towards certain situations like that. Like your higher self is always seeing possibilities. It's always seeing opportunities. It's always seeing expansion, right? It's always seeing the light in things. And so if you feel like you're finding yourself really focusing on the dark aspect of things or negativity of things, or, just feeling like failure of things, like just know that's not your true essence. And you don't always have to give power to those negative thoughts, those negative doubts, those negative fears, right? We can't always control the thoughts that come up, right? That pop up into our brains, right? We all know I'm all about intentionality with our thoughts and taking control of your headspace to control your mind before it controls you. But there's still definitely thoughts that kind of will pop up into your mind. And not only we can't always control those, right? But we can control which thoughts we choose to energize, which thoughts we choose to accept, and which thoughts we choose to put more energy into. And so these negative thoughts, right? These doubts, these fears may be popping up in your mind out of your control, right? It's not like you woke up that day and was like, I actually want to think really negatively today. I hope no one's setting that intention. But we still have the power to say, okay, I'm feeling really doubtful today. I'm having a lot of fears come up today. But you can still decide to not energize those things. And you can decide to try to think of situations of what if this actually does work out instead of what if it doesn't work out. And that just remembering during my session today was really what I needed, because I feel like I've been kind of getting lost in the sauce of my ego. I feel like my ego has been winning a lot in my mind. Like I said, just with kind of thinking negatively of outcomes of situations, of doubting myself, of being fearful of things not working out. And I really realized like that's not the real me. Like I'm letting the ego win, and remembering who you truly are, which is your higher self, which is the one who acts from love, right? The one who sees love and light and possibilities and solutions and, just the goodness in things. Like that is our soul's essence. It really is. And it's about remembering that to really be able to bring that out and activate it. There really is two sides to every coin. Right. And so you could either be on the egoic side and be feeding your ego consistently and having that be what is driving the horse in your life, driving the carriage in your life. And you really will definitely see your reality be impacted by acting from that space. But you could also choose to live from the other side of the coin, which is your higher self, where you're seeing the good in things. You're speaking kindly about yourself to other people. You're seeing opportunities. You're seeing possibilities. You're seeing the what if things do work out side of things, right? You're seeing the potential in things. And I promise again, your life will be reflected. Your reality will be reflected by that viewpoint from acting from that space. And also, more often than not, all of that negativity that you're experiencing, negative thoughts, right? Doubts, fears. Like I'm saying that it's not the true you, yes, but it's also coming from trauma in other situations, or it's coming from other people's traumas that projected that onto you, that you adopted that story as truth. So it's like the fears of like, what if I never am going to live the life that I want to live? That's not something that we're inherently or born with, that fear. That's coming from a fear of someone else that basically projected that. Like maybe someone else, their father told them that they weren't going to amount to anything and they were going to end up working at a gas station the rest of their life, or like not being able to hold down a job, and they're going to be getting nowhere and struggling to get food. I don't know whose parent would tell them that, but there's some crazy stuff out there. And so let's say that person's parent told them that, and they stuck on to that. That created a fear of like, oh no, wait, this is a possibility that things may actually not work out for me. That's adopted, and then that's what you keep throughout your life. So I think that's another huge thing. I believe I did a podcast episode on this of like, your authentic self isn't about trying to find and create who you are. It's about unlearning all the things that were just false narratives and coming back to your truest self. Like your true self is your authentic self before you adopted traumas and other people's viewpoints and perspectives that were just from the ego, that came from a scarcity mindset, that came from fear and not from love. And so furthering my point here of that it's those that negativity, doubts, and fears, they aren't you, because they're simply just layers that you've adopted from others people's traumas that they've like dished out based on stories that they were told that created fears and doubts and negativity in them. So if you're really feeling overwhelmed right now, if you're really worried about your future, if you're worried about things working out, if you're worried about having what it takes, if you are doubting your abilities, if you're doubting the possibilities for things to fall into place, like just take a second to get in stillness. Take a second to just turn off your mind. Take a second to just turn off your thoughts and let all that go for a second and just stop thinking about it. Just for a few minutes and just sit in stillness and just try to be here right now in this present moment. Because you also need to understand any worries or anxieties, like all of that is because you are living in the future, right? And any sort of resentment or regrets is because you're living in the past. So really anything that is causing you disruption mentally is almost always because you're thinking about something in the future or the past. You're not purely actually present. And when you can do that and turn off the noise and turn off the thoughts and just be still, that's when you can really remember your true essence, and you can also remember what matters. And when you have a good sense of self, of who you are, I feel like it inevitably brings so much clarity in your life as well about what your next steps are and kind of just what you want to get out of your life. It just gives you more perspective because you just understand your situation better when you know who you are, when you understand the main character. It's kind of like if you're trying to watch a movie and there was no backstory or any real feature of the main character, you're like, what's even going on? We don't even know what the story is about or who it's about. So I think getting really clear and remembering who you are will inevitably bring so much clarity into the rest of your life. So just take some time in stillness and do your breath work. Try to really just be present and think about nothing. And I promise you, it's going to feel like a whole weight of the world has been lifted off your shoulder, and it will hopefully create space from all those self-sabotaging thoughts, those self-deprecating thoughts. You can finally create that space and remove them. And so you can actually think clearly from your higher self and take action accordingly, which is where all of your beautiful things for your life path lies, is when you truly are in alignment with your higher self, because that's when you're going to be an energetic and vibrational match. It's kind of like you need to, if you want to be this beautiful surfer girl that lives on Oahu and is financially stable, you can't embody someone who is this New York City businesswoman or this server at a restaurant. Like if those identities are not who you want to be, if you don't want to be living their life, like you need to take on a different identity. So it's the same thing of like, if you want to be living your best life, you need to be embodying your best self in order to live that lifestyle that inherently comes with it, you know? So for the affirmation for this episode, I love this one. It came so easily to me today. It said, I release and unlearn all that I thought I was, so I can meet who I truly am. I release and unlearn all that I thought I was, so I can meet who I truly am. I think that's such a beautiful affirmation. I love it so much. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Another kind of short and sweet episode, but these are just like kind of mini downloads that I've been wanting to get out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that it hit home for you in some sense. It brought you some sense of value. If you guys did enjoy this episode, or if you've gotten any value from the Livfiit Listens podcast at all, I'd really appreciate if you would offer some support to this podcast in a way that's completely free to you. You could either leave a rating and review. You can screenshot this, put it on your story, share it with a loved one, a family member, or a friend. It really helps this podcast grow and reach more people and therefore impact more lives, which is always the goal. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Seriously, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your week. Peace out.